Ontario, Canada. If you're driving by and it's a Sunday between 10 and 12, drop by, have some fun, have some coffee, get a hug or two. And welcome to those on Zoom and those on YouTube later watching us. We are grateful that you are joining us this morning. A little bit of housekeeping. If you have a cell phone with you, feel free to check in on Facebook. Tell people that you're at Unity, ready for a great service, but at least turn your volume and your notifications off down so we have no interruptions. What a great night last night. Woohoo. Yeah, we had, I think we had about, I'm going to say we had less than 40 people, 35 to 40 people here. The room was hopping. We did about $1,700 on our silent auction. We did about another $1,300 on ticket sales. So that puts us at $3,000. And then we had an extra $1,000 donation as well. So we brought in about $4,000 last night. So good job by everybody. And thank you so much to the people that put in all that effort. Lorraine with setting things up and getting music and videos, and Amber doing the silent auction and getting it prepared. And of course, Mike helping her, and just everybody that brought great food. It was fabulous. So if you missed it, we'll have another one, and make sure you come to the next one. All righty. So now we're going to move on to our vision, our vision station. I have some Saturday night residual effect. Our vision statement. And Unity of London shares the same vision statement as nearly all the unities worldwide. And let's affirm this together, that we truly see a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And to realize that, our mission in London, we decided that it was to co-create with spirit to transform lives through shared spiritual awakening. And what does that look like? Well, we believe that we are all one. It's our egos, our error beliefs, and our fears that separate us. So we like to believe that we are a loving, inclusive community. We promote self-expression. We certainly truly want each person to be their best them they can be the best me I can be. And if you're on Zoom and you're not muted, maybe you can mute yourself. Thank you. We're great that you're here. We're happy you're here, though. And then by promoting that self-expression, you're perfect the way you are. You don't need to try to be someone else. And our 5 principles, and I have my little cheat sheet for our 5 principles. We believe there is only one presence, one power active in the universe and in our lives, and that is God, and God is good. Number 2, our essence is of God. Therefore, we are inherently good. This God essence, called the Christ, was fully expressed in Jesus, who we consider our way shower. And number 3, we co-create with God, creating reality through the thoughts that we hold in our mind. And using prayer and meditation, we align our heart mind with God, using denials and affirmations as tools to help us have that connection. And lastly, it's not enough to know the principles. It's through our words, actions, and deeds that we live the truth. And those would be our principles. And also by inspiring people to inspire others to be the change that they want to see. And learning to coexist by providing fellowship and education for spiritual seekers in all walks of life. Our special announcements today. Lindsay is going to, I believe this is an extended date, but the end date for the head, shoulders, knees, and toes that runs in the fellowship hall in the morning, Sunday morning from 9:55 to 10:30 will be running for another couple of weeks through to November 19th. So if you'd like to do some head, shoulders, knees, and toes next Sunday, be in the fellowship hall by 9:55. We have a special guest speaker coming November 19th, which I guess is next Sunday. Kwesi Millington. So he's a resilience and mental health expert and former RCMP officer, over 10 years as a first responder. I think he's seen a lot. and resilience expert, certified wellness and mental emotional coach. So something very different for us, and I'm sure we will all enjoy it and learn something. December the 21st at 7 p.m. we will be having a Christmas concert with Jim Chapman and other people that might like to participate. We will have tickets available ideally by next week, maybe, but put December the 21st in your calendar to be at Unity at 7 p.m. and enjoy some wonderful Christmas celebration. It's getting cold outside. It's cold inside. So we know it's cold outside. So our Christmas outreach, our Christmas project is winter accessories collection. What do they look like? Well, that's mitts, gloves, hats, scarves, socks. And remember, with socks, white are best. The people on that unfortunately live on the streets, white socks are better for their feet than anything with a dye in it. So, but I know we'll have a great collection and share those with the people in need. So you can start picking those up, and we'll have a place for collection. And now we're going to go into prayer. Oh, no, not quite yet. Prayer chaplain. So I will pray with anyone that would like one-on-one prayer today. Unfortunately, Pauline's a little bit under the weather. She has a little bit of a cold, and we're grateful that she doesn't want to share that with anyone. And online, we have Wilda available to pray with anyone online that would like individual one-on-one prayer. Before I go there, okay, different order than I'm thinking. We have a song by Mark Stanton Welch, and some of us have had the opportunity to meet him when he was here. Music's not playing for me, Lorraine.
In the silence, I can feel the love. In the silence, I can rise above. In the silence, I can hear the voice. In the silence, I am home. In the silence, I can feel the love. In the silence, I can rise above. In the silence, I can hear the voice. In the silence, I am home. In the silence, I can feel the love. In the silence, I can rise above. In the silence, I can hear the voice. In the silence, I am home. I am home. I am home.
And Unity was founded over 130 years ago based on affirmative prayer. You can, we have a prayer box at the front of the room, and there's slips of paper up here or in the backs of the chairs that you can write someone's name or a list of names on that piece of paper and just put it in the prayer box. You know, don't need to put the situation, just the person's name, for Spirit knows what's best for all. And those names will be prayed over here for 30 days and then also sent down to Silent Unity. Silent Unity is 1-800-NOW-PRAY. And this morning for our prayer, we're going to call Silent Unity. Who in the room has called Silent Unity before? Excellent. We got 3 or 4. But I thought this would be a great way to experience.
Hello and welcome to the Unity Prayer Ministry. You're always
Oops.
all calls are recorded for training purposes.
Can you hear it?
Your call will remain confidential within the prayer ministry. Please select one of the following options. To pray with the next available prayer associate, press 1.
Silent Unity, how may we pray with you?
Good morning. My name is Sylvia. I'm calling from Unity of London in London, Ontario, Canada. And we are doing our Sunday service. And we'd love for you to pray with us today with our community for peace and prosperity and a growing spiritual community.
Energy called Silent Unity. We're here to bring the positive prayers. We invite our hearts and our minds to focus in this new day and all of this faith community. We speak wisdom, guidance, support, and clarity. The ability of all who choose to be participating and present, not only be blessed, but a blessing as well. Thoughts, words, and actions are fully respectful of Spirit, and we trust that Spirit guidance in all, with all, for all, and through all. Your desire to truly seek spiritual guidance and to meet the needs of others assures for your faith community these blessings on you. So we trust it is in the name and it is through the love of Jesus Christ and so.
Amen. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. And that is Silent Unity. So at any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can call Silent Unity for prayer. And please share that with other people that you know. And so we had our prayer. And now we have our reading of our daily word that Renee's going to do.
Good morning, everyone. I hope we're all warming up a little bit. Anyway, the daily word today is faith. Faith heals, prospers, blesses, and sustains me. Sometimes I wish I had a way of looking into the future and knowing what to expect. But even though I cannot know how the future might unfold, I can still be prepared for it through the power of my faith. Having faith means I have unwavering fidelity to spiritual truth. My faith is my anchor, keeping me steady during shifting worldly circumstances and focus not on the things of the world, but on the power of spirit. My faith keeps me steadfast in the midst of uncertainty, inventive when met with stagnation, and adaptable when faced with changing circumstances. I turn my attention to God and feel my soul illumined by my belief that everything is working for good. I align with this truth and go forth blessed by my faith. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Our guest speaker today is Tony Orvidas. Tony is a lifelong student and teacher of spirituality, metaphysics, and abundance manifestation, an experienced mentor, speaker, and trainer, and author of Using the Law of Attraction. Tony has been an active member of Unity of London since 2012 and is a past president of the board of directors. Please join me in welcoming Tony Orvidas as we listen to his talk titled, Peace is Every Step.
Thank you, Renee, and hello again, Unity of London. Today's message is titled, Peace is Every Step, not to be confused with Peace as Every Step. I borrowed the title for this message from a book of the same name, Peace is Every Step, A Path to Mindfulness in Everyday Life by Thich Nhat Hanh. I felt this message was quite timely, given that we have just observed and commemorated Canadian Veterans Week and Remembrance Day, which was yesterday, November the 11th. As you likely know, it was originally called Armistice Day. It marked the end of hostilities during the First World War, and nowadays it provides us with an opportunity to remember all those who have served our nation and everyone affected by war, including non-military personnel and civilians. It's a day to honor the fallen, to remember the horrors of war, and to embrace peace. It's an opportunity for us to express our gratitude to those who fought and lost their lives, and to recognize the extraordinary efforts and sacrifices of our veterans and those who continue to serve in times of war, conflict, and peace. Our military forces here in Canada are renowned for their peacekeeping efforts. Remembrance Day also commemorates the suffering, hardships, and challenges and pain experienced by all the spouses, children, friends, and colleagues left behind. It's a day to reflect on the profound impact of war on individuals and societies, and to strive for a world of peace and reconciliation. Now, remember John Lennon of the Beatles? Yeah. The Fab Four, by the way, just put out their final song. I hope you heard it. Hope you liked it. I did. I thought it was great. Well, John shared with us a great message about peace in his song, Imagine. Imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion, too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Oh, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. By the way, that's a photo of the Imagine mosaic. It's in the Strawberry Fields Memorial Garden in New York City, Central Park. It was taken by one of our tour guides. Bonnie and I were there just a couple of weeks ago, and it's a beautiful, serene place, gotta tell you. Now, the metaphysical meaning of peace is harmony and tranquility, derived from awareness of the Christ consciousness, as in, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Peace is based on the law of love. It's formally defined as freedom from disturbance or war, harmony in personal relationships, and a state or period of calm and goodwill between nations. Talking about the subject of peace at this time in human history would seem quite appropriate, given ongoing terrorist insurgencies, armed conflicts, civil and international wars in Gaza, the Ukraine, Afghanistan, Central African Republic, Ethiopia, Libya, Mali, Myanmar, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, among others. Boggles the mind, doesn't it? Anyway, let's get back to the author of our book, Peace in Every Step, Thich Nhat Hanh. He was a renowned Vietnamese Zen Buddhist monk, a global spiritual leader, poet, peace activist, and author who is widely recognized for his teachings on peace and nonviolence. His philosophy and writings have had a significant impact on global mindfulness and peace movements. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called him an apostle of peace and nonviolence when nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Exiled from his native Vietnam for almost 4 decades, Thich Nhat Hanh was a pioneer, bringing Buddhism and mindfulness to the West and establishing an engaged Buddhist community he called Plum Village. Here are some key aspects of his teachings. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasized the practice of mindfulness as a means to cultivate inner and outer peace. And he promoted a thing called walking meditation, the practice of walking mindfully, taking each step with awareness, with peace. Thus, the name of his book, Peace is Every Step. Thich's teachings highlight the concept of interbeing, which emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things, something we ascribe to in unity, don't we? Something Sylvia mentioned during her presentation earlier. He taught that recognizing our interconnectedness promotes compassion and understanding of everyone, including those we may consider our enemies. He viewed compassion as an antidote to violence and hatred, and essential for peace. He emphasized diplomacy, active listening, understanding, and effective communication as a way to resolve conflicts peacefully. He told us, real peace is not in power, money, or weapons, but deep inner peace. Peace is every step, he wrote. The shining red sun in my heart, each flower smiles with me. How green, how fresh all that grows, how cool the wind blows. Peace is every step. It turns the endless path to joy. But peacemaking doesn't mean passivity. What it means is that it's an act of interrupting injustice without mirroring injustice, the act of disarming evil without destroying the evildoer, the act of finding a third way that is neither fight nor flight, but the careful, arduous pursuit of reconciliation and justice. It's about a revolution of love that is big enough to set both the oppressed and the oppressor free. Now, before we go any further, I feel I should just issue a disclaimer. You see, I am a pacifist. It's true, several of my friends joined the armed forces after high school, and yes, I considered applying to the Royal Military College of Canada after graduation. But I've pretty well always been nonviolent, anti-war, anti-violence. I recall acquaintances and relatives of mine calling me a peacenik, a tree hugger. During summer break from university in the early 70s, before starting to work at my summer job on a farm in Tillsonburg, I drove my baby blue Ford Falcon from Windsor, where I was studying, to Hamilton to visit my parents, my brother, and other relatives. I had a large peace sign prominently displayed on the back window of my car. It was during the Vietnam War era. Shortly after arriving home, I walked over to my car with the intention of taking a drive to pick up a friend for a trip to the local brewer's retail for some liquid refreshment. I found to my surprise and irritation that my father and his brother, my uncle, had scraped the peace sign off the window of my car. They claimed it was a communist symbol and they did not want it seen on their property. Well, I tried to explain that the peace symbol was merely a superposition of the semaphore signals for the letters N and D, taken to stand for nuclear disarmament. They're not sold on that elucidation of mine and never apologized for what they did. Now, that peace symbol was designated and designed by Gerald Holtham as the logo for the British Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, a group at the forefront of the peace movement in the UK and adopted by anti-war and counterculture activists in the USA and elsewhere. It was but one of a number of peace symbols used over the years in many ways in various cultures and contexts. Let's talk about a few. The dove and olive branch, I'm sure you're acquainted with those. They were used symbolically by early Christians and then eventually became a secular peace symbol, popularized by a dove lithograph by Pablo Picasso after the Second World War. The dove is a universal symbol of peace, love, and innocence. In Christianity, the dove is associated with the Holy Spirit and is famously known for its appearance in the story of Noah's Ark. Remember that? It brought an olive branch back to Noah, symbolizing the end of the flood and the return of peace to the world. I'd completely forgotten that part of the story, by the way. Now, the use of the olive branch as a symbol of peace in Western civilization dates back to the 5th century BC Greece. The olive branch, which the Greeks believed represented plenty and drove away evil spirits was one of the attributes of Irene, the Greek goddess of peace. Irene was called Pax by the Romans. The V hand signal has also become an international peace symbol. It was a hand gesture, palm outwards, with the index and middle fingers open and all others closed. You may have used it yourselves. It had originally been used to represent victory during the Second World War. And then during the 60s in the US, activists against the Vietnam War and in subsequent anti-war protests adopted the gesture as a sign of peace. You might be interested to know that Mother Teresa was once asked why she didn't participate in anti-war demonstrations. She said she would never do that, but as soon as there was a pro-peace rally, she would be there. She further noted that you alone cannot change the world, but you can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples, ripples of peace. My dad, who I mentioned earlier, was a fervent non-communist, anti-communist, and a lieutenant in the Lithuanian army during World War II and fought against the Nazis. He admitted to me one day that he did not think he had killed anyone during the war, noting that he had closed his eyes whenever he fired his weapon. And he understood that many of his fellow soldiers did exactly the same. A formal study of men in combat reached a similar conclusion. It reported that on their own, most men are reluctant or refuse to kill their fellow man, even if that fellow is your sworn enemy, who's doing the best to kill you and your buddies. Now, here's a bit of a history lesson for you. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman was an Army Ranger, paratrooper, West Point professor, and a military historian. Grossman's book on killing was nominated for a nonfiction Pulitzer Prize. In that book, Grossman analyzed anecdotal material and official studies about soldiers' behavior in battle and concluded that until the late part of the 20th century, when training methods changed, only about 1 in 5 men in combat would actively try to kill the enemy. What about the other 80%? They were not cowards who turned tail or ran. Instead, the non-killers would fire their weapons harmlessly into the air or refuse to fire at all. Hard to believe, eh? Grossman relied heavily on World War II studies conducted by Army Brigadier General S.L.A. Marshall and his historians, who interviewed thousands of soldiers in 400+ infantry companies immediately following close combat with German or Japanese troops. According to him, the resultant consistently was the same. Only 15 to 20% of the American riflemen in combat during World War II would fire at the enemy. Those who would not fire didn't run or hide. In many cases, they were willing to risk greater danger to rescue comrades, run messages, get ammunition. They simply would not fire their weapons at the enemy, even when faced with repeated waves of banzai charges. Eventually, however, the percentage of combat soldiers willing to engage the enemy rose into the 80 to 90% range, up from the 15 to 20% in World War II and previous wars. Why, you may ask? Well, one reason was the training, which changed dramatically in the second half of the 20th century. Instead of shooting at bullseye targets, as trainees did during the Second World War, soldiers were trained to shoot at targets that looked more like the enemies they would face. In the Vietnam era, silhouettes of humans were used. When terrorists became the enemy, targets were used that depicted men holding rifles and dressed in Middle East garb. targets were no longer static, but popped up at random, requiring the soldier to fire instinctively. The purpose of using lifelike targets that require quick reaction was to facilitate a transition from practice shooting to killing an actual enemy. What do you think of that? To understand and overcome this innate reluctance to kill another human being, a line of study was developed. Grossman called it killology, the scholarly study of the destructive act. Soldiers were trained to think of themselves as killers and the enemy as deserving death. Killing was taken out of the abstract to become real, to become personal. In an online site for military company commanders, one contributor advised that training soldiers in knife fighting techniques will help to create killers. You must create the mindset in them that killing the enemy is an acceptable action when given the permission to do so by legitimate authority, said the officer. Killing comes at a cost, of course. The subtitle of Grossman's book was The Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in War and Society. He pointed out that the act of killing was more psychologically traumatic for the killer than the actual danger of combat. The all-time high rates of suicides in the military bear this out. Soldiers are put in a terrible dilemma. Kill our enemies to protect ourselves and our families, but don't lose your soul doing it. You wonder why so many veterans won't talk about their war experiences and why so many return home from armed conflicts with post-traumatic stress disorder. As Walter Cronkite, a famous news correspondent, once said, war itself is, of course, a form of madness. It's hardly a civilized pursuit. It's amazing how we spend so much time inventing devices to kill each other and so little time working on how to achieve peace. In the Daily Word, we read that perhaps no emotion is more precious or more powerful than the desire for peace among the world's people. We, as members of Unity, recognize that we are one in God, again, as Sylvia had mentioned. The divine image, the Christ Spirit, which lives in every human heart. Knowing this, we think of and speak with respect to everyone we meet. We affirm the divine presence in me recognizes the divine presence in you. We find ways to cooperate with those from all faiths, nations, cultures. Each individual and each group brings a unique perspective, a perspective that contributes to the richness of everyone's understanding. The divine light shining in each willing heart is now bringing peace to our world. Developing peace is an ongoing and collective effort that involves you, me as individuals, our community, our nation. It requires a commitment to empathy, understanding, and the pursuit of nonviolent and constructive solutions to conflicts. Now, it's important to note that promoting peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, equity, and cooperation. Peace building takes time and persistence, but the impact on personal and global well-being is immeasurable. As I conclude my message for today, I ask you to please remember, each moment is a chance for us to make peace with the world, to make peace possible for the world, to make happiness possible for the world. Peace is not an unachievable ideal, but rather an attainable reality. We'll talk some more about that another time, by the way, because now, my friends, it's time for us to go into meditation. The guided portion is based on a reading from the Daily Word. Let my words be yours. Let's comfortably settle in. I close my eyes. I focus on my breath. As I breathe in, I'm present with breathing in. And as I breathe out, I'm present with breathing out. I acknowledge any distracting thoughts and emotions as they arise. I let them go and return to connecting with my breath. Although they have passed from earthly life, the men and women who gave their lives in service humble me and fill me with thoughts of honor and gratitude. I take time in prayer to bless and remember them. Perhaps the most important way I can express my appreciation for their ultimate sacrifice is to renew my own commitment to creating a world where all people can live in peace. In my thoughts and through my words and actions, I hold to the truth that all people are living expressions of Source. I'm not discouraged if I don't see immediate evidence of my conviction. The memory of those I honor today strengthens me and gives me hope for the future, causing my heart to radiate with delight. So I relax and sit with that for a few moments. I gradually come back to my world of earthly delights, peace being in my every step, secure in the knowledge that all is as it should be, as I co-created it. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you so much, Tony, for a very enlightening conversation. A difficult conversation at sometimes too. It's hard to look at what we're willing to do to one another sometimes. But we're all on this journey together, and I too believe that we can get there. When we left last night, John Lennon or the Beatles song, All We Are Saying is Give Peace a Chance was on. And we talked about how that would be a great song to, if we play, when we play songs just before we start our service, that'd be a fun song, but very informative. And I think I'll pick up that book. So thank you very much. And now we're going to have a lovely song.
There's somebody hurting. Someone needs a hand. There's someone out there somewhere suffering. No matter what it is you're going through, this prayer's for you. This prayer's for you. If you've lost a loved one or lost your way, if you find yourself without a place to stay, yeah, no matter what it is you're going through, this prayer's for you. This prayer's for you. For you. Beautiful spirit, sweet child of love. You are whole and you are worthy, and you are always enough. All your troubles and your sorrows now are washed away. With you, my friend, I pray. There's somebody hurting. Someone needs a hand. There's someone out there somewhere suffering. No matter what it is you're going through, this prayer's for you. This prayer's for you. This prayer's for you. This prayer's for you.
Wonderful. Well, and now we come to the time where we show our gratitude for the gifts that we've received through the week and the gifts that we know that are on their way to us. That's people sharing their time and their talent and certainly their treasures. And as you can see, there's many ways to give your offering, whether you want to do it by email, here, on the machine. We are truly a blessed community. And we'll, thanks Renee for picking up the gifts for today, and we'll bless the offerings. So let's together affirm that divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. And now our prayer for protection, and we'll affirm this together. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. And the presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And Unity of London's Yay, God, and our peace song. So let's gather around together. Have a great week. I don't know if anybody's online that wants to, or if anybody in the room would like to thank Tony, have a comment for Tony. I guess we can just leave that up there.